Roblox is a platform where you can find hundreds of thousands of places. Whether it be just empty base plates or full-fledged adaptations, Roblox has it all. The majority, however, tends to go unmentioned and forgotten. Here is where this one game comes in. A game that tries to bring players to those unmentioned and forgotten places, and the obscure corners that those places lay in. This game, of course, is Super Place Roulette. Super Place Roulette, made by Roth, is a game with the purpose of finding random Roblox places and gives players a vote that decides if they will go to that place. Most of its findings, like you would expect, are empty base plates or abandoned games, but it can actually produce some interesting results. So in today's video, we will take 8 chances with Place Roulette and visit the places it randomly picked from Roblox's seemingly infinite selection. Welcome to round 1 of Roth's Roblox Roulette. The first game picked is titled Under Construction with no description. Created by Grimkiller5150 in August 2010, it was last updated in March the following year, with the game garnering 56 visits since its creation. Spawning in, literally all of the game's features could be seen as soon as you land on the base plate. Besides a killable noob and a few COD Zombies props, such as a Juggernaut dispenser, there was really nothing to be seen in this game. Oh, and of course, the myriad of weapons given to you as soon as you spawn in. Like a knife, which apparently shot out blades, a tomahawk that disappears when you use it, the Grim, which is basically the M202 rocket launcher, an AUG, which when fired played this beautiful sound, among a few other weapons and items. So to conclude, this game seemed to try to portray COD Zombies but in Roblox, featuring a few dispensers and weapons from that game mode, but it was quickly abandoned and hasn't been touched for over 10 years. So I think it's safe to say it failed in achieving its objective. But with that, let's move on to the next game. The second game that was picked is called Chill or Hang Out at Club Black by Smokey_KN, featuring no description once again. It was created in September 2014 and received its latest update just 2 months later, and so far has garnered 207 visits. Surely with almost 4 times the visits as the last game, this will be better, right? Well, let's find out. Spawning in, I already knew we were in for a treat. I mean, look at all of this stuff that has been meticulously put on the map, like a Dunkin' Donuts. Definitely no free models in sight. Okay, jokes aside, I began exploring the mansion that lays behind you when you spawn in. Walking through the front door, I noticed that it was extremely dark, the only source of the light naturally coming from the windows. Continuing on, I found a kitchen with a dining table, the living room, and what I assumed was like a lobby of some sort, even though it was in a far corner of the mansion, as well as a set of stairs that led to the second floor. There, I found 4 rooms, 3 of which seemed to belong to people named Mike, Sky, and Carly Bieber, and one that was listed as a study. I first explored Sky's room, which featured a large bed, a TV with some black boxes that I assumed were receivers, and a computer setup, featuring a square-like monitor that kind of reminded me of an iMac. I don't know why. Next, I went into Carly Bieber's room, which of course featured another bed, a couple of chairs, and a dresser. Pretty bare bones if you ask me. I then went into Mike's room, which was pretty much the same as Sky's, except those receiver things weren't present in the TV. Naturally, the last room to explore was the study, which had more chairs, another TV, and a large desk with some colored cubes, a stack of papers, and a laptop. So that's pretty much it for the mansion. There's also a pool on the other side of the entrance, as well as a 4x4, but that's it. A pretty cozy place, but also very dark at the same time, due to Roblox's constant lighting updates over the years. Moving on, I went to the Dunkin' Donuts, which had 2 spinning signs, one of which actually had the Dunkin' Donuts logo. Now, personally, I've never been to a Dunkin' Donuts before, so I have no clue on whether or not this would represent one of their locations. Anyway, when I locked in, the first thing I noticed was that there was no floor, and like the mansion, the lighting was a bit off, but again is likely due to this game being 10 years old. On the right, there was a cup giver and dispensers for different flavors of Dunkin' drinks, which surprisingly still work. At the order stand, there was a Dunkin' Donuts meal on display, which included a couple donuts, a drink, and what looked like coffee, judging based on the shape of the cup. Naturally, there was also a menu, which featured options for donuts, coffee, and milkshakes. So I guess that drink on display was a milkshake. Who knows? Next to the menu, there was a dialogue box that when clicked on said stuff about pastries and how they were a work in progress, and then gave me a Pop-Tart, saying it was a good choice. Sadly, it didn't actually give me a Pop-Tart. To the left of the dialogue box was something that looked like another drink dispenser. that had 2 straws sticking out of it. There was also another one on the far right corner of the restaurant, this time having a beige color scheme instead of red, and I didn't get a chance to check, but I assume both are just props. Facing that last dispenser though was another one, with this dispenser having what looks like a pair of filet-o-fish sandwiches on it, which to me didn't make sense being in there considering it's, well, a Dunkin' Donuts. Contrary to the last 2 dispensers, even though I didn't check, this one actually worked, and I began going crazy with it, making many banana and coffee cocktails. As a result though, the game didn't like that and took all of my items. I would continue to go in depth with each of the locations I went to, but I think that would be a little boring, and plus there are still 6 games to go after this, so I think I'll summarize what I did for the remainder of my time in this game. After leaving the Dunkin' Donuts, I went to Plastic Turtles Designs, a clothing store that featured a bunch of feminine designs. There was also a SWAT morph outside that gave me a bunch of textureless headgear, as well as a police car that controlled like a typical old Roblox car. Then I went to the classic treehouse from around the same time as this game, as well as the early 2010s version of the Happy Home and Robloxia house, which as expected wouldn't let me inside, but I did get a good view of the interior. There was also a military base with a few soldiers guarding it, but of course they were just statues and did nothing when I attempted to enter the base. But of course I would be remiss if I forgot to mention that building that was next to the mansion besides the military base. When I entered there were poker tables on both sides, which confirmed my assumptions of the building being a casino. It also featured a bar on the far left side, but what really caught my attention was the stage setup in the center, complete with seating and a DJ board, which features songs by artists like Daft Punk, Usher, Kanye West, Eminem, and also Jackal Queenston apparently. So yeah, that's about it for this game. Quite a lot to unpack for being our second game, and it was very interesting to say the least. Now there were other elements too, like the older Happy Home and Robloxia house being present, albeit in pink, and another building not too far away from it, which looked like a club, but I didn't quite get to them in this recording. Sorry. Anyway, let's move on to the next game. For the third game, we were given Ninja Queen 26's theme park Heatland? I don't know. This time, the game actually features a description, but it's just the title copy and pasted 5 times, and also contains a thumbnail, but it's for a different game. Continuing on, the game was created in March 2016, with its latest update releasing in July 2020, and has 41 visits as of writing. However guys, I have a confession. The game Theme Park Heatland isn't even a theme park game, or mentions anything about theme parks. That's right, we've been clickbaited. Instead, the game leads into a space tycoon.
Oh brother, this guy's still.
But yeah, I'm not going to bother covering this in full because, come on. I'm sure all of you guys know how tycoons work, and if you don't, just go to the charts page on Roblox. Anyway, within this game are the usual elements of a tycoon. Multiple bases, gears like fidget spinners, yes, fidget spinners, slot potions, hoverboards and coils, microtransactions, and all other things, yada yada yada. Let's move on. The next game chosen is titled Agana's Arena by Boston U Hockey. With 68 visits, it was created in October 2011 and has never received an update since. Once again, it has no description, so it's left to interpretation what this game could contain. However, to my dismay, it was just a base plate. Shocker. Also, I suppose while we're here, I have something to address. Turns out you may have noticed that the visit counts of the actual places and the one displayed when Super Place Roulette picked those places are not the same. For example, on the second game, Super Place Roulette said that it had 49 visits, when in reality it had 207. Going back to our current game, Super Place Roulette said it had no visits, but the actual game page says 49. So yeah, a bit odd. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the actual games, I just wanted to point out an issue that could be fixed later on by the devs. But with that, let's move on to Game 5. The fifth game chosen by Super Place Roulette is titled Upward Tortuity Village. No, I'm not joking, that was its actual name. Created by Trev Cool in December 2012, its last update was almost an exact year later, November 2013, and currently has 91 visits as of writing. Oh, sorry, 349 visits as of writing. Had to catch myself there. Anyway, let's see what's in store with this game. Upon entering, I could tell, like with the second game, that it was going to be interesting. At first glance, I noticed that it had a Christmas theme, including things like a giant Christmas tree, of which was made by and had its credits given to Diacon. Diacon? I don't know. There were also lights, colored balls of sparkles, a storm for some reason, which included lightning that flashed your screen about every 10 to 12 seconds, and the old Roblox logo in green and red, continuing the Christmas theme. Beside the Roblox logo were vehicles that had balls for wheels and spikes at the front. It can actually be destroyed by ramming into other vehicles. Throughout my whole time playing this, there was also this weird rendition of Jingle Bells that played in the background, and interestingly featured one of the source button sound effects. There were also these hoverboards in the shape of an arrow, which when hopped on began accelerating instantly, and the one I rode led me into the Roblox logo, and I wasn't able to get myself unstuck, so that was cool. Overall, this game was weird, but very festive. But let's move on. So after that, our next game is called Cole's Admin House Groups, and its developer's name was essentially the same thing. It was created in July 2017 and has not received an update since, with the description saying that the game is in beta due to it needing to be remade. There was also a code for beta testers that the developer gave which allowed access to the admin house. However, the description cut off right before the actual code was given. Contrary to what Superplace Roulette says, the game has gotten 92 visits as of writing. So let's see what this admin house has to offer. Loading in, it's pretty much what you would expect from admin houses as old as these, with these spawning on a base plate outside the old Happy Home Robloxia house. However, unlike other typical admin houses, there was a passcode at the front door that when the correct code was punched in, it granted you access to the inside of the house, and of course, access to admin powers. While I wasn't able to get inside the house in my initial recording, I later found the code for beta testers after looking at the actual game page, and I went back in and tried punching it in to see if it worked, and it didn't. Wonderful. Well, that was underwhelming. Let's move on to the next game. The next game picked is called Life of an MMORPG Gamer by Lucy Fieni. It was new and in version 1 at the time of writing. It was created in November 2016 and its latest update came out 2 days later. As of writing, the game has garnered 178 visits and has a 50% like to dislike ratio. Loading in, the first thing I noticed was that it was extremely laggy. The way I could describe the game's performance was that of a PowerPoint slideshow. It was so bad. But besides that, we have a little hub world, complete with a couple of buildings made out of stone and wood, a couple of fields with no crops planted, a bridge that led to those fields, and a couple of NPCs that look like enemies, as well as a bunch of GUI elements that don't work anymore. There also seemed to be stuff beyond this point. However, it was so laggy, it was pretty much unplayable, so I cut the game short. It seemed to be a game with some effort put into it, complete with elements akin to MMORPG games as the title implied, but the piss-poor performance definitely turned me and the 170 others from playing this game. No wonder it has a 50% like to dislike ratio. Let's move on to the final game. For our final game, we got Disco Rocket Battle by Fireball8456, with a description claiming that the game features the fight of a sentry and recommends to always keep your eyes open at all times because you never know when something is coming. Also, be sure to run fast. This game was created in August of 2008, which means this game is the oldest out of the 8 games covered in this video, and its last update came a year later. Loading in, I was put on the classic Rocket Arena map where there were 2 spawns for a red team and a blue team, as well as a neutral side, which has limits if you don't want to battle. I was also given 3 items, a rocket launcher, a trowel, and infected, which launches whatever that is. However, when I tried to use the rocket launcher or the trowel, neither tool worked, which makes sense considering the game has been updated in over 15 years, but it's still a shame. After learning of this, I decided to just do parkour, but then I accidentally failed a jump, and instead of falling off the map entirely, there was a whole section at the bottom where there were givers for tools I already had. When I went to this one giver and it gave me the trowel, I tried equipping it, but it clipped me through the giver into a position where I was holding the trowel on display, so I was forced to reset. Then, out of nowhere, a few other people joined, but of course, with the rocket launcher nor trowel being able to work, nothing happened between us, so yeah. Overall, I'm sure this game would have worked perfectly fine back when it was released in 2008 and 2009. However, naturally, with it being over 15 years since its release, the gears have stopped working and has made this game a dead weight, until it gets updated again, of course. But do you honestly think the developer of a very old Roblox game is going to come back after over 15 years of downtime? I doubt it. But with that, let's move on. And that was the last game. So what can we take away from this? Well, it shows that where the game is random as Superplace Roulette, where it scours the more hazier corners of Roblox, it can still pick occasional gems that are worthy to check out for a little while, taking in the effort that the developer put in their now very old and more likely abandoned game. While some or even most of it may just be downright free models like what seemed to be apparent in the Club Black game, it can still be worth one's time to check out like it was for me during the whole recording process. But with that, thank you for sticking around until the very end. It's really appreciated. Most of you guys may not know, but I was originally going to make this video all the way back in January, and I had everything: the script, the voice lines, the footage, everything needed for me to begin editing, but my editor was just not having it, and so I scrapped everything and put this project on the back burner for months. But now, here in December, I've finally released this beast, and I really hope you all enjoyed it. If you want me to make a round 2, or you just want to show support, be sure to leave a comment down below. This may be the final video from me in 2024, but who knows. Maybe I'll try and squeeze out one more video before 2025. We'll see. But for now, thank you all for watching my content, and I'll see you in the next one.